What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Ethan's Exotic Escapades. Today, I'm going to be going to the Georgia Aquarium in Atlanta, and it's going to be awesome. But before we get started with this video, make sure you like and subscribe to join the tribe, and I'll see you when we get there. Here we are. We just arrived. We're going to go ahead and head on over to get our tickets so we can head inside. We just got our tickets. They were $60 each, and we're going to see what this place is all about. The first tank you see as you're walking in is this huge tank of moon jellyfish. After getting through the line and finally getting inside, I realized how humongous this place is, and it was very packed. We decided to start off with Dolphin Coast, where they had a bunch of dolphins. They had this really awesome aquarium right here that had 4 dolphins in it, and these are just very majestic creatures. Dolphins are mammals, so they give birth to live young, just like us humans. They're also very social, so they love to travel in groups rather than solo. They're known for being playful, and the most well-known thing about these guys is how intelligent they are. They're believed to be the second most intelligent animal in the world, second to only us. Right around the corner from the dolphins, there was this enclosure right here that had a bunch of different bird species. There were ibis as well as spoonbills. And the spoonbills, if you can't tell, are those birds that are a lot larger than the ibis. And they have bills that literally resemble spoons. And the ibis, I have never seen any that were this vibrant color. They looked pretty much like mini flamingos. Then we decided to head over to Gator Crossing, where they had this tank, which was the first tank that I decided to stop at, where it's resembling Georgia's mountain streams. And there's quite a few different fish in here. This tank had 2 different species of shiners and 2 different species of darters, and then 1 species of sculpin. I wanted to add this tank in here because I think little fish deserve love too. But enough of that. We came to Gator Crossing to see some gators, so I decided to head on over and look at all of the gators that they had. They had this really beautiful albino one, which you don't see too often because they are pretty hard to come by. And then they also had some regular alligators in here as well. This one's chilling on his rock, and then his buddy's just chilling like a villain right across from him. But these can get much larger and have very powerful jaws. Right across from the alligators, they had this big freshwater pond that had so many different species of fish in it. I could not believe how many different species there were. They had huge alligator gars, and then they had some koi in here, and they also had a lot of different species of sunfish, some huge catfish. I believe I've seen some pacu in here as well, and I think they even had maybe a sturgeon in here, but you can see how big this catfish is right there. I mean, he was humongous. Definitely way bigger than my arm. And here's a little school of all of the alligator gars, and here's a look at this humongous fish right here. Before I left this area, I went on to the other side and noticed that there were also bass in here, and I think I might have even spotted some Oscars. As soon as I left that area, I was immediately greeted by these humongous freshwater eels, and I've never seen any freshwater eels that got this big in my life. These are electric eels, so they pack a punch with the electricity that they can put off, and these both had to be well over 4 foot long. I just can't believe this. I've never seen anything like this. These boys were thick. After checking out those eels, I went to this touch tank that was right after passing the eels, where they had a whole bunch of freshwater stingrays, and these were humongous. And they had a couple of other species of fish in here, some severums, plecos, but main thing we wanted to see here were the freshwater stingrays. And I just think it's very fascinating that there are saltwater and freshwater stingrays. But here's a shot of these guys right here, and I actually got the chance to pet one, but you want to be really careful when you pet these guys because you don't want to stress them out. So I used 2 fingers to gently stroke it because I don't want to stress him out. And then I slid on down and decided to get a better shot of the other ones. The next thing I saw was this tank right here that had ember tetras in it, as well as some blue neon tetras, which are very common fish that you can get in the pet trade. But I just loved how beautiful this tank looked. It was very simple, but stunning. The next thing I came across was this filtration that went to this tank right here that only had sea anemones in it, but I wanted to show the filtration that goes into stuff like this. Next, I spotted this terrarium that had some wood frogs in it, which are a pretty common frog that you can see in South Carolina, but they are very good at camouflage, as you can see right here. Then I noticed that there was somebody trying to get my attention, and it was this guy right here. This is a chuckwalla, and normally you don't see these guys whenever they're in a tank because they love to hide in the rocks and shove themselves in very small crevices to the point that you can barely see them. But he got up to the spot that he was wanting to climb up to, and then I kept looking in here and noticed that there was another species of lizard, which is a blue rock lizard right there. After leaving Mr. Attention Hog, got to this area over here that had a whole bunch of enclosures with poison dart frogs, and something I just recently learned about them is they have to be with the same species because their poison is dangerous to other species. And right beside them was another tank with some smaller species of fish. There were some rasbora in here and some different tetra species and some cory, as well as some very cool pleco species. The next thing I saw that completely took me by surprise was a snake that is referred to as a tentacle snake, and I thought that they called them a tentacle snake because they literally resemble a tentacle, but I learned after watching this guy for just a little bit that the reason they're called that is because of these little things that come out of their face that also resemble little tentacles. After seeing that bizarre creature, we came to their biggest tank that they had here, and this is just the top view of the tank. We're going to be seeing it much better later, but you can see just a little bit of a sneak peek at their most famous animal here. It is their whale shark. You can see it right down there in the middle. We are going to get a much better look at him later, though. After that little sneak peek, we came to this area that had a bunch of different touch ponds, and we were greeted by a whole bunch of different species of sturgeon. Here's one right here coming right up to me. I cannot believe how tame and sweet these sturgeon are. And the water here was extremely cold. I mean, I felt it instantly as soon as I put my hand in. But you don't really get the opportunity to pet a sturgeon too often, so I definitely wasn't complaining. The reason the water was cold was to simulate their natural habitat anyway. They'd naturally be in more cold waters. After messing around with those guys in the cold water, I came over to mess with these really awesome stingrays. These are cow-nosed stingrays, and the water was much warmer over here because these are saltwater tropical species, and I was also allowed to touch these guys. So I tried my hardest to see if one would actually come up to me, and one eventually did. They also do have some species of fish in here with them as well. And here's one coming right up to me. I think he might have thought I was going to feed him because he had his mouth open and was ready to take a little chomp. But I think he noticed I didn't have any food for him. Sorry, buddy. Next up was this area that we have seen before called Ocean Voyager, but we only saw the top view. Now we are able to see the tank much better, where I noticed that there were multiple different divers in the tank. Not sure what they were taking care of, but when we passed those guys, we got to one of the most popular parts of this attraction, which is the tunnel that you can walk through, and it was very busy, but as I was going through, saw a humongous manta ray, and this guy right here, which was a very beautiful fish, and then a humongous stingray also decided that he was going to make an appearance in the video, and went right across us. And not long behind that guy was a shark. And that shark was our first shark species for the day. It was a blacktip shark, which is one of my favorite species of sharks. As we continue on through, I saw these stingrays that were having the time of their life at the top of the water, just gliding all over the place, and saw another big stingray. I think these are a school of tuna that were right behind the stingray. And then I started noticing some different species of fish. There's that beautiful guy again, and then this really big tang who wanted nothing to do with me and immediately swam off. But there were a lot of different predator fish in here as well. There were some barracuda, and then this guy came right across the top of the glass. He was just smiling at everybody. But this is called a guitar fish, and it is a species of ray, even though it does look like a shark. They also had multiple different schools of different species of fish. I started seeing a lot of different grunt species, and this very big guy right here, not exactly sure what kind of species of fish that guy was. And this guy came right back over top of us to say hello again. Then I managed to spot this little fish right here with a stripe that goes down its whole body. He is a cleaner wraz, and they are known for cleaning little parasites off of fish and helping with overall maintenance of fish. And then right above me, what we just passed was a grunt species, and then a very beautiful powder blue tang. On the other side, I spotted this shark that was trying to blend into the sand, but wasn't doing a very good job. This is a nurse shark, and I've never seen one of this color before. So let me know down in the comments below what kind of nurse shark this is. After going through the tunnel, they had a bunch of other different viewing areas that you could look at. There's that humongous manta ray that we saw earlier. And then you can see some of the cow-nose stingrays that we've seen before. And then this humongous thing right here. He's also a species of shark, but they're called wobbegongs, also known as carpet sharks. They look much different. Then I decided to move to the next viewing location where you could see a nurse shark in the back over there swimming away. And there were some different species of angelfish over here in this area as well. And a lot of other species of fish that I have never even seen before. But I love how they made this look like a broken down structure just in the water. It's really awesome. After passing through a couple of the viewing stations, we came to this huge area where you could view the tank, and there is a leopard shark right there and another one back behind it, which is a very awesome species of shark. And you can see basically everything from here. The only thing that we haven't seen yet is the whale shark in this tank, but it is here, just haven't been able to find it. At this viewing area, you could see this spotted eagle ray, which is the spotted stingray with a more pointy nose. You can see him going off to the right there. And everything that you possibly would want to see was here. They had tarpon here in this tank as well that I started to spot. The shark that just passed was a reef shark. You can tell the difference between that and a black tip because of the black tips that a black tip has, and there goes one right there. And then, of course, we spotted another guitar fish that was getting a little bit jealous and wanted to get his camera attention. And then you can see another one passing through right there. But just look at the scale of this tank. Imagine having a tank this big in your house. I mean, it'd be pretty much impossible. We stayed in this area for quite a long while because we wanted to see all of the fish that we could possibly see. I kept seeing a bunch of different species of tang. There were some little small yellow tangs at the bottom, more grunt species, more sharks, more stingrays. The manta ray kept coming by, and then that big guy right there was a grouper, which those guys can get pretty humongous. They also were supposed to have a sea turtle in here, but was not able to spot that guy. Here's a look at that huge grouper right here. And you can see him off in the distance now. But still, no whale shark, so we'll have to come back here later. While we decided to wait a little bit for the whale shark to come out so we could see it, we went over to the dolphins again, where they put on an awesome show for us. I've never been to a dolphin show really before, so for whatever reason, we decided to sit in the splash zone. And I didn't think I was going to get wet, and I was, well, you'll see in a little bit. Like I was saying earlier about how intelligent dolphins are, well, you can see right here that they're able to be trained to do some pretty awesome things. These are the trainers right here getting pushed around by their little dolphin buddies. And I mean, I just can't believe any animal is able to understand how to do something like that. And here's one right here doing some flips for everybody. Whoop, right in front of the camera. It's just astounding to me. He looked like he really loved doing those flips too. Then, for whatever reason, this one decided it wanted to emote on us, so there it goes right there. And if that wasn't enough, the trainers started emoting on us as well. There the first one went, and then the second trainer is coming right on by right after that, and she's just chilling. And if you thought the splashing looked bad now, wait until you see what it looks like later. But first, we watched this one hit a ball. That's awesome. Next up, 2 of the dolphins came up, and I thought they were going to splash us, but they just wanted to wave to us. Hey guys. Then another trainer got his dolphin to come up and started shaking his head, yes, and blowing some air bubbles. He looks like he's up to trouble, but I think he just wanted to talk to us. Dolphins also form bonds with their trainer. You can see just how well this one listens when he tells it to go back. And then they got this dolphin to do whatever this little move is right here. It was splashing up a little bit of water. And here is one playing fetch, just like a dog. Can you guys believe that there is an animal that lives in the ocean that will play fetch? That's just crazy to me. And that one jumped extremely high. After that one showed off its hops, this one decided it wanted to be a ballerina and started dancing with its trainer. And of course, they naturally had to reward that behavior with a hug. And the dolphin actually hugged the trainer back. That is awesome. And now this one's coming up to say hello. All 3 of them came right up to the glass to say hello to us. Next, they got one to push them around underwater, which is very cool. And this one did a jump over its trainer. And then this one followed after it. The next trick, which I thought was one of the most impressive ones, was this trainer balancing on the nose of the dolphin. And the dolphin was able to continue swimming while the trainer was on top of its nose. Then right after, it did our version of roll over, but in the water. And then finally, here comes the part where we all regretted sitting in the splash zone. The water started dripping down from the top of this area, and then the dolphins started, let's just say, going crazy. First, these 2 jumped right in front of us, and I was like, yeah, that's not that bad. Didn't really get that wet at all. And then they got this absolute menace to society right here to just completely obliterate everybody, splashing them completely with water. And then right after that guy came its friend to do the exact same thing. Then it started to calm down a little bit, and they started doing some more tricks, jumping up and out of the water. So I thought that we were safe for the rest of this little show. I was very, very wrong. But for now, we can just enjoy them doing more really cool tricks. This one was just doing some backflips, and then this menace to society came right back, and of course we sat right in front of the area where you get soaked the most, and we got completely soaked, and he got a treat for doing that. So good job, buddy, for completely soaking us. Right after getting soaked the second time, these dolphins did a couple of more tricks. That one did another backflip, and then these came right up to us and decided to wave bye. So I was assuming that maybe the show was over, so I was waving bye back to them, and they went right back to where they came from. Little did I know the show was not over, because right after that they came right back and splashed us again, but this time it was a double splash, and it still wasn't over. Now they started coming in waves, splashing us, and here's another one. Boom! They got soaking wet on that side too. Here's the aftermath, completely soaking wet, and so is my fiance. After finding out how wet we were going to get in the splash zone, they had this tank right outside that had some yellow tangs and some damsels inside of it. It was really pretty, and also a very pretty angelfish. Right beside that tank was this one that had a bunch of sea anemones and a whole bunch of clownfish, showing off what they do in the wild, which is hosting sea anemones. Then we started to head downstairs to this area that had a whole bunch of really awesome freshwater fish. This is a tank full of so many different colors of discus fish. The next tank that we went to was this one, which looked very cool, and they even had some plants above the tank to replicate a rainforest. But this tank had a whole bunch of piranhas in it, which is a really cool species of fish. Here they are all schooling together, and these guys eat meat, and they often attack their prey together in a frenzy. This area also had a viewing area of the tank we saw where the alligators were. Then I saw this tank that had a couple of turtles in it, and there was one underwater and then one basking in the sunlight. And then as I walked further into this area, I looked up and noticed that there were alligators above my head. So they have a viewing area of the alligators that we saw earlier in this video, where you can look at them from down below, and you can see all of these guys just swimming around having a good time. The next tank that I decided to take a look at was this one right here, which had birds in it, but that was not all that this tank had. Under all of these lily pads was something crazy. Do you guys see it? That is an embu puffer, which is the largest freshwater puffer species in the world, and they had a humongous one. Not only did they have one, but they had two of these guys. There was one chilling on the sand that was not quite as big as this one. This one was humongous, and I've never seen one this big in person. I was just astounded by how large he was. After seeing that awesome puffer, I found this tank, which had a bunch of Congo tetras in it, but that was not all. This tank also had a whole bunch of elephant nose fish, which are those black fish in the background, and if you can't tell why they call them that, it's very obvious. They have that long thing coming out of their face that looks just like an elephant trunk. As we moved further down, we got to this huge freshwater tank that had a whole bunch of different fish species in it, but some of my favorites were these big striped fish that had the humps on their head. Those are called frontosas, and then that big guy that just went right across our face is a species of tigerfish, which they get their name from their humongous sharp teeth that resemble tigers. And they do have those really pretty stripes that go down their body. Here, one comes right across your face right now. Look at how sharp those teeth are. You definitely don't want to get bitten by one of those guys. Right after taking a look at that awesome tank, I found this tank, which had a variety of different fish species. There were some gouramis and some other small species of fish all in here in this planted tank. But the coolest thing was this humongous fire eel. After leaving that area, we came to this huge enclosure right here that had sea lions and seals in it. And we'll be revisiting the sea lions later in this video because they put on a pretty awesome show for us. But we're going to leave these guys for now. See y'all later. After checking out the sea lions, we head over to the sharks, and they had this humongous tank that was just infested with them. Right here is the first viewing area that you get to as you're walking in, and this is where we saw a whole bunch of hammerhead sharks. There went one swimming off to the right, and then here comes one swimming right across our face. The coolest thing about this area was the amount of different viewing stations that they had. This was the next viewing station that I took a little stop at, where you can see that shark in the back right there and another one that is the silver-tip sharks, and there comes another hammerhead shark right there. And then I got this clip from another station of a huge hammerhead swimming right by. After escaping the shark-infested waters, we head over to Tropical Diver, which is this really cool location that has a lot of different tropical fish. There's a wrasse right there swimming, and then there was this fish that was hiding at the bottom. I'm not 100% sure what kind of fish that was, but this first tank had some butterfly fish, some wrasse, some different tangs. There's a butterfly fish right there with the long face. And then that right there is a clown triggerfish, which is my favorite species of triggerfish. And then you can see just how many fish they had in this tank. And then at the very top was this big old guy right here, a pufferfish. As we were moving through this area, we found this really cool tank that was pretty long, and where we saw the first green moray eel. You can see it right there. That guy is huge, and I think a fish just came out of his mouth. So that was pretty weird. But these guys were hiding in the tubes that they had for them. And I spotted quite a few of these guys as we went through this whole tank, because this tank was pretty long. Here is the second moray eel that I found, hiding in another one of the tubes. And after seeing that guy, I saw this really beautiful tang and a couple of other species of fish. Those are some grunts right there. And I was just looking to see if I could find any more eels. But the really cool thing about this tank was that they made it look kind of like an underwater submarine that was all broken down and taken over by the ocean. And right there is the third and final moray eel that I spotted. After seeing that cool underwater submarine aquarium, we got to these, which are white-spotted jellyfish. Right next to those jellyfish were these Japanese sea nettles, and they had some very, very long tentacles. Something really cool about jellyfish is they don't have brains, but still are able to function and live as a living sea creature. It's always extremely fascinating to me. The final thing in this area was this humongous reef tank. This tank was one of the most popular places that we visited because there were so many different species of fish in this tank. Look at how humongous this tank is. It really looks like you're under the ocean. Here's a closer look at everything that you can see at the right side of the tank. There are so many different species of fish, it would take me forever to name all of them, but you can see a whole bunch of different species of tangs swimming around, some different species of anthias swimming around, some different wrasse swimming around, and angelfish. They had just about everything in this tank, even some butterfly fish swimming around as well. There is one of the beautiful anthias right there, and then this very beautiful striped fish right here, which I believe is a species of tang. They had quite a few different species of tang. There's another fish swimming right across us that was also a beautiful striped fish.
and as well as a bunch of different coral species. They had a huge variety of different live coral in this tank. And here's a look at some of their really cool fish. There is a very cool species of wrasse right there. They're known for having their very long protruding mouth. And there were some other blennies in here and some different species of gobies in here with all these other fish as well. Here's a look at one of the gobies that I caught out of his little burrow looking for some food. And here comes his buddy right here, chilling on the rock with him. I thought that was really cool because normally they're hiding in their burrows. The next really cool thing I spotted in this tank that I'd like to point out were these 3 fox-face fish. They are really cool and another one of my favorites in the saltwater world. Then I found this really cool fish that had a very awesome pattern, but I'm not 100% sure what kind of fish this is, so let me know in the comments down below. Then I walked to the left side of the tank and got a little video of all of the different fish they had over here on this side. They had some of the same fish over here, but there were a lot of other ones over here that I hadn't seen on the other side. Next up, I found this tank that had a bunch of little cuttlefish in it. Look at how cute these guys are. After seeing those, I saw these little garden eels. Look at them hiding in the sand. Then we moved on to this next area, which had this tank greeting us in the very front, which is resembling a kelp forest. They had half moons in here, kelp bass, swell shark, opal eyes, sheep's head, and some really cool damselfish in here. There's one of the sheep's head right there. This tank was very cool, and I like how they tried to make it resemble a kelp forest. The next really cool thing we saw in this area was this tank that had some spider crabs in it. Here's one right here, and there were these really weird looking fish that I'm not exactly sure what they are, but you can see him right behind all of this rock. It's very cool looking fish that I have never seen before, so that was definitely really cool to see. Next up, I got to this tank, which had a bunch of beluga whales in it. You can see them all hanging out towards the top because I believe they were being fed some snacks. And here's one swimming down to the bottom for us to see just how big they are. These are very intelligent creatures, and they're mammals just like us and just like dolphins. They're known for their very funny looking head and the blubber that they have. But the reason that they have this blubber is because they're naturally in the wild in very cold water. So this allows them to have more insulation. Another thing about beluga whales is they're social, so they love to live together. Next up was this enclosure that had 2 sea otters in it. You can see one swimming around down there and then one just chilling on its back at the top. And here comes the other one. It's already back at the front, and he's going to greet his friend. Sea otters are one of the largest species of otters in the world. And there they both go. This next tank was their Alaskan Rocky Reef, which had a couple of different species of fish in here with some different species of starfish. But the thing that everyone was looking for in this tank was the octopus that was supposed to be in this tank. And I tried and looked everywhere for this thing, and I wasn't able to be 100% sure if I was able to see it or not. But right over here in the right corner, I believe in the middle of those starfish, that could have been the octopus. The next tank that I took a look at was this one. This tank was definitely my favorite tank at the aquarium, and it was because it had these weedy sea dragons in it. And they had a lot of these guys in here. I don't know why I love these guys so much. They look similar to seahorses, but also at the same time completely different. I definitely can tell why they have that name sea dragon, because they really do look like mini underwater dragons. And I think they also look very similar to kelp, which is why I thought it was a very good choice by whoever set this tank up to put kelp in there. After seeing my favorite aquarium, we head over to this area that had a lot of different seabird species in an enclosure all together. But my favorite of all of the different species they had were the puffins, which you could see one right there in the right corner. And I even got a chance to see one of the puffins go down to get a little toy in this water area right here and bring it all the way back up to the top. Look at this little guy kicking his little feet, swimming as hard as he can to get back up to the top. That is adorable. And then here's one final look at this enclosure from the right side. You can see all of the different species hanging out all together. Right next to all of those seabird species was another enclosure that had their African penguins. Look at all these guys. They were all huddled up close to that door over there because I think they thought that it was feeding time. These penguins also had little nests for when they were going to be having babies. And you can see a couple of them hanging out in their nests. After visiting that area, we decided to take a little break before we went to the next show. And we took a break over here where their koi were, so we got the chance to look at all of their beautiful koi. But now we're going to go ahead and head over to see this awesome show, which, like I said earlier, we'd see the sea lions again. Well, here's their show. First up, we got this sea lion jumping up to hit the ball, and he was just having a blast. Then after that little trick, we got introduced to the two different teams that we were going to be on. So we were on the side of the smaller sea lion, and he already gave us a wave. And everyone else was on the opposite side with the older and larger sea lion that also gave us a wave. And here they are doing a little trick for us. Throughout the show, both sea lions were competing against each other. Here is the one that was on our side, and he jumped right up in front of us onto his little ledge and got a treat for it. And now I'm going to let his trainer introduce him.
Last but certainly not least, on the far right-hand side of the lagoon, we have Neptune. Now, his rescue story is a little bit different than Diego's because when Neptune was found, he was found with somebody's discarded fishing hooks embedded in his front flippers. Then, upon further investigation, if you take a look up at your nearest monitor, you will see one of Neptune's x-rays. This shows that to this day, he is living with bullet fragments in his head. But have no fear, with Neptune's incredible perseverance, he is going to overcome the odds and win this entire competition.
Throughout the competition, the sea lions did tricks like this one, doing the moonwalk. And then also this next one, where they slide on the ground. But it kind of looked a little bit like caterpillars crawling. After they did that, since we didn't learn our lesson last time from being in the splash zone, we sat in the splash zone again and everyone got splashed. There was our cute little sea lion trying to splash everybody over there, and then he came right up close and personal and splashed everybody over here. Luckily, it was not anywhere close to as bad as it was when we were where the dolphins were. And now, he's smiling for the camera. Look at how cute that little guy is. Then the other sea lion came over and he had his hand over his nose because I think he smelled someone fart. And this big guy also got up close and personal and started yelling at us. And of course, you got a little treat for that. After he got a little treat, his trainer got him to go up to this little area over here and got him to start dancing for us. Look at him. He's so cute. Then we got to see them do some final little dances. Here's this one, the big boy doing his little dance. Then after him was our little sea lion doing a little dance, spinning all around. And then he did a little handstand. And after he finished his handstand, they both did a little dance together. Look at them go. I think dancing was their favorite thing. After they got all their dances out, it was time for them to say bye. So our little guy was clapping for us, and then this big old boy decided to do one final trick for us and also wave goodbye to us. Look at him. Bye-bye, buddy. After seeing our last show, we decided to head back over to the huge tank that they had because the huge whale shark that everybody comes to this aquarium for was finally out. When we came here earlier, he was not out and I couldn't find him anywhere. But now he is front and center where we can see him perfectly. And we stayed here for a pretty long time when he came out because I've never seen something like this in my life, and you really can't see anything like this anywhere else in the world. Seeing this guy was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I'm so excited and happy that he was the last thing we saw for the day.
That's going to do it for today's Exotic Escapade. The Georgia Aquarium is probably the best aquarium that I've ever been to, and they had so many awesome things. So let me know what your favorite fish or animal was down in the comments below. My favorite was definitely the whale shark, but make sure you like and subscribe, join the tribe, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.